And we're live. Hello and welcome to the Relevant Community live stream. I'm Avon and this is Amanda. Great to see you along for the show. How you going, Amanda?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Avon?
Not too bad at all. A little bit warm now in summer. That's right. I'm going to go to winter next week, so we'll see how we go.
Exactly.
So, all right. So today we're going to be talking about being deliberate with your time. Now, obviously, there's lots of time-saving tips out there. A lot of apps, whatever. And that's not what we're going into. We're going more to the strategic side. I mean, if you want to get granular and try and look at doing some little task faster or getting there's always an app for that, or getting the shiny thing, the widget, the AI or whatever to do that thing. That's cool. That's great. But I think there's even more important decisions to be made at a higher level to go, do we even bother spending the time there? And if we are spending the time there, are we maximizing the value out of it? That's probably more important than whatever app widgety thing, because sometimes people spend so much time trying to figure out the thing that saves them time that they end up not saving time at all. So unless you're going to be yeah. I don't know. Can you think of examples? What have you seen or done or whatever that you've tried and gone, this really wasn't worth my time?
Oh, so many things. I think, and we've spoken about this before. So I use the Pomodoro technique, which is 25-minute blocks of time. And it's great when I have smaller tasks to get done. But then when you need to get in that flow state or that, just smash out a big chunk of work, it doesn't often serve you because you're pausing and restarting and pausing and restarting. So I've had mixed results with that. I will always use it. It just has its place and you have to be smart about it.
Well, I think there's a different approach to an employee's mentality around time management versus a business owner's approach.
Absolutely.
And to your point about flow states, even thinking about if you're in it like mentally and you're just like an ideas engine and you're just, I would capitalize on that time, irrespective of, when knockoff time is, irrespective of, some other activities. Like I've gotten up at 3 a.m. and then spent hours creating some spreadsheet thing that, one, I probably wouldn't have been able to sleep if I didn't just get out there and do it. But two, like the employee, they're punching through some tasks, whereas a business owner, like I've even just gone, you know what, I'm not being productive here. I'm going to stop. I'm going to go take a nap, and then my brain is going to be on again, and then use that as to get back into my flow state.
Absolutely. Like the nap, go for the 15-minute walk, something to just refresh the mind and break out of, that brick wall that you're hitting so that you can get back into it.
Yeah. And I think in terms of, conversation we were having earlier is most business owners think of themselves as, they're the one that's got to do the everything. They've got to be the janitor. They've got to, make the application or the spreadsheet or whatever it is so that somebody else can do the thing. But I think you need to really think of yourself as the strategic asset or as the prize, as you put it. So what's some things, what's way, I guess, of where people are not thinking of themselves as a strategic asset?
I think when we just get into the minutia or the day-to-day runnings of the business that could be handed over to a team member. So if we can create a system or a process around that thing. So recently for me, it was tracking jobs from end to end from a costing perspective. So I was doing that manually myself, but then I created a system and a process around that so that one of my team can take that on so that I can spend time on higher value tasks. That would be the most recent example.
Well, like we're having a conversation offline about, the example being the cardiologist. Like you go into, and I think the difference is when you're a small business, you kind of have to do everything. But as you start to scale out that, you really have to break those habits. Like a cardiologist isn't there applying a Band-Aid. He's not there doing, putting some betadine on or handing a lollipop over. Particularly when you look at like emergency response, you've got the paramedic. They're the ones there on site doing the work, which is like the figuring out what went wrong, do we need to call in a specialist? Let's perhaps not call in a specialist if we don't need to, because these cardiologists have their own vehicle. Like you see, it's like a SUV thing. It's not decked out with all of the hardware, all of the, the Oxyviva, the paddles, all of that stuff is on the first response vehicle, and they can go and deal with whatever's happening at the time. But then the cardiologist rocks in with their SUV. Sometimes they'll be driving normal speed, or sometimes they'll have the sirens going. But they're a targeted resource. There's probably about 50 or so paramedic vehicles out on the site to one cardiologist vehicle. Mm-hmm. It's just going to go where they need, go and solve that problem. And there's probably other specialists as well. But I think they realistically go, well, if this could be treated in the hospital, that could be treated on the way, something else could be treated, whatever. But the cardiologist role is very important and urgent. If they're not there at the right time, then things aren't going to go well. So statistically speaking, they are like a surgical strike, literally, figuratively and literally. Exactly. So yeah.
So you're saying we need to treat ourselves as the cardiologist in the context of our business.
You're there, you're there to keep the pulse running. Like if there's a boo-boo, let the team deal with it. If it's it's something that's a little bit more serious but can be strapped up or something like that, let the team deal with it. Someone's lost the thumb, let the team deal with it. But if it really requires you to jumpstart it, or really requires some high risk activity or something like that, that's when you need to bring the star power and do what's necessary. Whilst and the same goes with clients. Sometimes clients go, I want to talk to the boss. I'm like, well, can you afford the boss? First of all. Second of all, is whilst everyone wants the star power, not everybody needs the star power. So sometimes you need to control that with the clients to say, look, my team can handle that. Otherwise, no weekends, no sleep, no ability to step back or take a holiday. And also no reward. You just feel like you'd be punished by your success.
Exactly. You're just on a hamster wheel, not getting anywhere fast.
And that's half the reason why people try to start businesses, is so that they can change their lifestyle instead of working harder.
Exactly. So what can we do about that?
Well, I think there's the corporate decision making, which we've kind of gone through, which is around being that strategic asset. You can control things through price. Whilst being available is good and being there for your customers is good. If you are the only bottleneck in the process, and if you're the one ready to jump at a moment's notice, then you don't really have value. As a business owner, you'd be probably the premium resource. You're that surgical strike. You're the cardiologist. Yeah. So you need to be able to be a little bit scarce. You can't always get the top dog, because they're the ones that are busy with 100 other massive, really complex things. If you want that star power, you can control it with price. You can control it with some availability, but ideally, that's the corporate side. There's a little bit of personal side as well. Like as a business owner, you probably don't want to be going and doing a lot of dumb hours on things that really don't matter.
That's it. Only if it's moving the needle forward. If it's not moving the needle forward,
So look at the dollar value of your time. So and in that, like most people say, well, I can only charge this much per hour. But if you think about, that's what the billable rate is of a resource to do the role, then as the owner, you then have to manage everything else and manage the people that do the work. So, and there might be a trajectory. You start charging what you can, and then eventually you charge what you should. So as the owner, you probably want to be allowing for that management time, allowing for that oversight, and allowing for a high level of experience, as opposed to everybody else.
That's it. And I find that as experts in our field, whatever that might be, we forget the hours and hours, hundreds of thousands of hours in some cases, that we put towards our zone of genius. So, we need to take these things into account as well.
I don't know about you, but I've been going for about 7 or 8 years. So I know that by now I feel like I know some stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, we might know a couple of things, I think.
So, all right. So what can you do if you don't have, like, if you feel like you can't charge something, if you feel like you've got to do something for someone, what in your mind, what are some things that someone could do?
Look, I think if it might not be a monetary exchange, but maybe it's something else of value. So what if you ask them, I can help you out on this thing, and, be very deliberate. I can spend 30 minutes with you, and how would you feel about hooking me up with a Google review? That would be an example of how you could work that out. How's that sound?
Yes. I think that's a great place to start. It's a very easy place to start. I think maybe I try to think about what strategic relationships could that person get me into. If I don't think that's of high value, I may not value that non-monetary trade. So a Google review is great, but anyone in my team could also get a Google review. So if I'm going to do it, I never say, look, my team will do it for you, no charge, just to leave us a Google review, or give us a testimonial, or do a video, or do something of, time and effort and energy. Sometimes, you particularly if they're a first-time customer, someone goes, oh yeah, I promise you the world if you do this for me, and then you do it for them, and then crickets. Yeah, nothing happens afterwards.
Yes, we've all been there.
So you need to kind of play a little bit of chess, like a little bit of strategy with, like, you make this move, and then I'll make that move, and then I'll only move a little bit, and once you've done that, I'll do this bit. And then that way, that you're kind of both kind of angling to get to the end outcome that's successful for both of you, without one being disadvantaged by the other, because each person's thinking about themselves in the negotiation. So you just need to, I think one thing is not take everything personally as a business owner. It's very hard to detach the emotions, but if you think of it like chess, it works.
I like it. And so is that, so if we think about it as a game of chess or a negotiation, is that the best framing, do you think?
Well, if you, not always, like, you really, this is the difference between tacit and explicit learning. If I could write it down and you could just follow this dot point process, then it would be easy business would be easy. Everybody would be able to do it. Unfortunately, you probably need to get into a ton of examples where you've stuffed it up, got it wrong, gotten frustrated with it, because tacit learning you can only do by doing. You can't learn how to drive by reading a book. You can understand the process, but you won't understand the feedback loop and how the steering wheel goes, and how hard to put pressure on the key when you turn it, and that it's rotational, not like an angle, and things like that.
Exactly. You just got to do the doing.
That's it. So if you were to negotiate with someone, what is that return exchange of value? Is that value a thumbs up and a heartfelt nod? That's probably not going to, as good as that feels and warm and squishy on the inside, it doesn't move you forward. So is it a promise of an introduction that may not go ahead, or that if it does go ahead, doesn't lead anywhere? Maybe that's not a good exchange of value. A Google review, it's measurable, so you could see it. Does it have a massive return? You're going to get 50 customers tomorrow as a result? Probably not. When you're starting out, it might be enough, but as you move on, you might need something a bit more complicated. Would I don't know, like, maybe some goodwill is important. Like, if they're in a position of influence, and they know a large volume of people, and you happen to do a favor for them. However, there are people with positions of influence that do expect people to do them favors without any return, and that's just them taking advantage of their position. But again, kind of need to know, to build a relationship, understand that person a bit more before you promise those things.
That's right. Yeah. And what does it always come back to, Avon? What do you always tell me? We need a values alignment. If you've got the values alignment, there's probably a good chance it's going to work for both parties, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I would try to qualify in or out as fast as possible with, is this person a time waster, just trying to take advantage of you? Or do you meet mentally in some way of, you agree on a certain state of the world, or the way things should be, or approach to life, or something like that. Like, those sorts of things help to increase the likelihood that someone is going to do this or that, or not do this or that.
Exactly.
So I think, in terms of trading time, make it worth your while. That's probably the bottom line. And get good at figuring it out if it's non-monetary, how not to get screwed, because it's very easy. Maybe it's a trade of goods or something like that. Anyway,
it could be.
Yeah. Don't waste time responding to scammers and surveys. Like all the in-between times of, like picking up your groceries or something. Like, think about your time where, could you get it delivered? Would it be faster? Is that worthwhile? Like maybe you need that mental break. So think about it that way. Think more strategically about how you do things, not just as I need to save a few cents here. If you think about like your scammers and surveys, they're not paying you for that time. They're going to get information from you. And if they're going to give you a $5 voucher to spend somewhere, it's going to be a pain in the ass, probably going to take you an hour to spend. Is that worth your time? No. Even if it's a $100 gift voucher, probably not. Just say, look, unless you're going to pay me $1,000, I'm going to hang up in the next 5 seconds. Give them a chance, and then hang it up. So then, like on that, I would say like gated decision rules. So if you're going to approach a thing, have a series of questions that you go through. And what's the first thing you qualify out on? You go, all right, I want you to do this thing for me. And you say, or there's a thing that you need to do. You go, do I have to like give up sleep? Like you'd have to come up with a range of questions. So it's going to be hard for me on the fly to come up with an example set here. But if I said, do I need to be wake up in the middle of the night for it? If that's
one of mine for sure.
Yeah. Like maybe that's a good thing. Like maybe what's the outcome as a result of that? Is it going to be worth my time? Yes or no? If no, can it straight away. Don't go through the rest of the questions. Just figure out what's your no-go criteria early on. Like when in a sales call, you're qualifying someone. You go, hey, I know what my ideal customer profile is. And if I say, so tell me a bit about your business, and they'll go blah, 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 blah. And I will either extract from that, or I can say, if they don't explicitly say, I'll go, how many staff do you have? And they're like, it's just me. I'm like, okay, well, you're probably not good for me to do an exact service. Maybe one of my team can handle that. And I'm using a very specific example here. I'm not that much of a rude person, but do you know what I mean? Like there's a question series. So maybe if you're selling Ferraris, right? You're going to say, so someone walks in, you're going to look them up and down. Having said that, that doesn't always tell you. Someone in a tracksuit is going to buy 5 Ferraris. And there was a woman in China. Sorry, I'm diverting off the course here. There was a woman in China went into Louis Vuitton, and they said, "Oh, you're quite plain. We don't think you have the money. We're not going to serve you." So anyway, she went in the next day, I think with equivalent of about $300,000 cash, asked them to count it all, and as soon as they had finished counting it all, walked out.
Yes, respect. That's awesome.
So, one, don't judge a book by its cover, but spend a bit of time figuring it out and say maybe, all right, well, if this is not right for you, we probably shouldn't continue the conversation. So don't spend an hour with someone if you can figure it out in 5 minutes. Find those gates that will block that conversation off so that you can go, all right, I think I've got enough information. It was great meeting you. Unfortunately, I don't think we're a good fit. You have a great day. I can redirect you to my team. You can find some stuff here. You can self-serve on the website or whatever it is. But I've got to run. Apologies, but I've got to go. Be a little bit not rush, not brash. Not like rude. There is a way to do it.
Absolutely, and I love that you gave alternatives. And if you focus on what you can do and the alternatives, people are still getting that great experience with you, even though you've, kept your time safe, for want of better phrasing. So everybody wins in that situation.
Or like a downsell works, or you could scare them off with price, or at least give an indicator just to say, look, most people who work with us generally spend a minimum of $20,000. Is that a deal breaker for you? And if they go, no, I've got something sorted over here. That's where I say, like the lady in the in Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
Just because they look like they don't have it, or there's a few things that don't add up. If you can just bring to the surface those qualifications, because again, it's negotiation, right? So if you just say, you need to do that, I need to do this. If we meet at our, we're both happy, no worries, we can do business. But if your requirements are this and my requirements are that, there's a misalignment. It's not going to work for you or for me. So let's just make it more pragmatic about, is it a win-win here? Look, I'm sorry, it's not a win for me. I wish you the best. It's nothing personal, but I've got other priorities that I have to address. I have staff I have to pay. I have revenue targets to meet, whatever it is, without being rude, without being too salesy, without being too, you're not profitable enough for me, bugger off. I think there's give and take in everything. So I mentioned something. Sorry, I'm taking a lot of the airtime. Jump in with any problems, ideas, questions. But I did talk about something that you had a question on, and that was a 5-cent rule. And I told you I had a story on it.
Tell me the story, Avon. I want to hear the 5-cent rule story.
So I had a cafe once, and I had a staff member needed to put, you had to have in pastry case, you had the little tags to say what it is and how much it is. So, like muffins, this much, $4, whatever the price is. And so these tags, we laminated them because, it's more food safe to have something that you could wipe off clean. Also meant that because there's a little bit of humidity in there, that the paper didn't go all soggy. And they sat on a little metal holder at the front so that it just looked nice in the cabinet. Anyway, because we had to laminate these things, and because we had generally had a little bit of turnover of the food items, it meant that we had to reprint tags on a regular basis. So I had this one guy come and he decided he wanted to be efficient and save money, and so he got the tag, printed it out, cut it out from the paper, kept the paper so he could use that to print again. Then he got the laminate and he cut that out and this the right size for the thing, and then gets the laminator, heats it up, then puts it through the laminator. Now, this is all well and good, except the fact that the tag is this big. At a certain point, instead of it feeding through, it got stuck in the rollers and just went around and around on the inside. Yeah. So that meant that he started unscrewing the thing and pulling it apart. And I had seen him all the wires exposed, and he's trying to slice this thing and pull it out of the thing. This is all a 20-minute exercise, and I discovered him with the wires apart. I just said, stop, step back, unplug the thing, and then screwed it back together. And anyway, it was fine. But not only did we waste 25 minutes of staff time, plus me to come and tell him off and then go and fix it. And there was probably about 40 minutes of staff time in dealing with that, talking about it, fixing it. So what saved 5 cents cost about, $200 realistically. If you think about, I could have been off selling. He could have been off selling.
Right.
If you just use the whole sheet and threw the waste in the bin, I know that's wasteful, but if you think about the economics of it, really, it was a 5 cent problem that ended up costing, a couple $100. Did
the laminator make it? Did it survive?
The laminator did survive. It did live another day. Again, laminator was $15. You can replace it if it was a problem. So always think about the dollar impact. Like when people go, oh, let's have a meeting about it. All right. How many people are in the room? What's their average salary? How long are they in the room? Hourly rate times salary. That's a $10,000 meeting. Is that worth your time? No.
No, it's not. In fact, we need to do a live stream about meetings. I have a lot of opinions on meetings.
Right. Well, if you're watching this and you have an opinion about a meeting, please leave it in the comments or let us know, and we can address it on the next one as well. All right. And I did talk about go or no go criteria. So the other one is because we're talking about business owners and team. Well, first of all, did you have any other thoughts or reflections on the 5 cent rule?
Oh, look, I think we just need to be smart about it. Don't get too smart for your own good, and just have an honest think about, is this actually worth it? It's not systems and processes or being more efficient for the sake of it. Is it actually doing the thing better or faster or more economically. So just, be smart about it, guys.
Yeah, 100%. So then in the team, like obviously there's time saving by delegating, but then people delegate and then try to do the thing anyway. Why keep a dog and bark yourself?
I love that analogy.
See, this is the thing. Like a lot of these analogies that I think are pretty common are probably not as common as you think. So I don't know, like the curse of knowledge is once you know it, it seems common sense, and then not everybody knows these things. So I'm sure there's plenty of things that you've got that you don't realize the value of until it happens. But that, case in point, that's exactly what happens as a business owner. You are the cardiologist, whether you realize it or not.
Exactly.
So creating a culture in your team where they self-solve problems, so they're not constantly coming to you. That allows them, once you've delegated it, you talked earlier about writing processes, writing procedures, writing SOPs and guides. And whilst that's great, the next level is scaling up the tacit learning, like the training and things that you have to learn by doing. And, run people through a program where you go, right, everybody, let's now sit down. You're going to do it. I'm going to watch you. I'm going to guide you on how to do that thing. And then next time they've got the muscle memory, they now know how to do that thing.
Exactly. And it's off the back of that, it's so important. I've had an experience with my team lately. If I've given you a new thing and I say, hey, go figure it out, I want you to fail. Come back to me and have failed. But if we have systems and processes in place that we've done 1,000 times, that has to be done to the gold standard, because you know how to do that thing.
Well, it's kind of like, how you almost need to have an escalation of force. So in terms of the knowledge base, one, doing it for them doesn't help them. You need them to figure it out. And it will embed much harder. Next time, they'll just do it naturally without having to always read the procedure or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So having a knowledge base helps. Getting them to spend time researching. So maybe the escalation of force is, have you tried to, or have you searched for the article? So that's the first one. Have you tried doing your own research if you didn't get that? Have you gone through the policies and procedures? Maybe there's some reordering there, but that you get the idea.
Yeah.
Have you brainstormed or asked somebody else in the team how to do this thing? Or YouTube, right? There's heaps of stuff on YouTube.
100%. My goodness.
And have you, even if you like brainstorm, you go, I think it could be option 1, 2, or 3. Then come to you as the owner for approval to go, look, I've tried this, and this. I researched it. I found that this doesn't work. This doesn't work. I've got these 3 options. I'm thinking this one, but I just want to run it by you.
Perfect.
So you get to come in and go, well, actually, your first thought was actually your best one. These other 2 don't work because of this, or this. In fact, I think negative training, and I don't have a better word for it, but knowing what's, like if there's a gray area and there's a few options to answer that one problem, you might be good to, forums are good for helping find this, to say, here's how to do these things. There's 5 other ways to do it. When you do it this way, you encounter this problem. When you do it that way, you encounter that problem. But that information and feedback is just as important as the answer itself.
Absolutely, because...
Or you're just kind of like filling in the blanks of like, this doesn't work because of that, or it works, but you end up with this problem, or it doesn't scale, or something else. Because whilst someone else might come across the actual answer or the best way to do it, that may not be the best way to do it every time because of some other circumstances. But that's where experience comes in. That's the experience that you have as a business owner, because you've tried it and stuffed it up a million times, and you've got a pretty good idea of what's going to work.
100%. And it's important to know what won't work, and so you can apply it in the current trajectory or the current thing that you're working on, and it might come up later that it will work in a different scenario. And
the curse of knowledge means that you can't put it into all of those words. You know it because you know it. You don't know it because you don't know how to write it down for someone else who doesn't know it. And by crowdsourcing that, you make it a lot easier to document.
Exactly. I like that strategy. Solid.
Awesome. Well, I think we've covered pretty much all of it. So talking about being efficient on time, we're right on 30 minutes. So if you're watching this, thank you very much. Please do give us a like and subscribe, and check out the Relevate community below. You can go to the join link there. They'll take you to a landing page, tell you a little bit about where we talk about more of this sort of thing in detail, helping to build businesses up through digital transformation and learning and mentoring and guidance, and a bit of networking thrown in the mix as well. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. You've been watching the Business Octopus live stream. Thank you and take care.
Thanks for tuning in, team. See you next time.